Hello, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Thelma Bwama. This is the second in the series of online discussions that the Ghana Think Diaspora group is having. Our topic today is youth mentorship, and we have some really excellent panelists who have a lot of experience with youth mentorship, either through their direct work or outside participation. So let's begin with introductions. My co-moderator for today is Gameli. I myself am Thelma Bwama. I'm a member of the Ghana Think Diaspora team. And I am working with the group on something that's directly related to youth mentorship and specifically career guidance. Gameli, can you introduce yourself, and then we'll have our panelists introduce themselves as well.
Hello, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Thelma Bwama. This is the second in the series of online discussions that the Ghana Think Diaspora group.
Hello, Gameli, you're up.
Yeah, sorry, you have to forgive me. I still had the event page on, and it's kind of mixing everything up. And that happens to me a lot because I try to do many things at the same time. My name is Gameli Ajao. I'm a science teacher from Keta, so I'm interested in youth mentorship because I work with a lot of young people. A member of Ghana Think Foundation, part of the diaspora group, worked on junior camp, and I'm part of their team working with Thelma to set up the junior camp internship program. So very much interested in this topic also.
Great. Ebenezer, can you please introduce yourself? And I actually need to add, in addition to telling us a little bit about yourselves and the works that you do, please also tell us about a personal mentor that you've had. Yes, so Ebenezer, you're up.
Hi everyone, my name is Ebenezer. I work at Chess University. I'm the Alumni and Public Relations Officer. A lot of my work has to do with connecting people, mostly people within the Chess community, and helping tell a Chess story to the world. One of my really personal mentors is my boss, Dr. Patrick Ewa, who is the founder of Chess University. And I work very closely with him, and he's probably the closest mentor I have.
Excellent. That's a pretty cool mentor to have. Elizabeth, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a personal mentor?
Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Ekunyako Patterson. I'm the founder and executive director of the Girls Education Initiative of Ghana, or GIG. Our mission is to provide academic and financial support for girls, including those applicants with special needs, so they could access higher education and professional opportunities. A mentor that I've had throughout my life has been Kelly Pierre. She's a mentor of mine from the Teak Fellowship, and I've had her since I was 13, so she's been with me my whole life.
That's incredible. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people get to say they've had a mentor since they were 13. That's great. Emmanuel? Let us know a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Emmanuel Gamor. I am a multimedia journalist, or just a storyteller. I'm just excited about telling stories on multiple platforms. Happen to be curator for YouTube trainings and huddles. Also have a host a radio show on YFM every week. It's an honor to be here. Personal mentor, Cabral Bliamihe. I don't know how many people probably know him, but he started the independent newspaper. He's been a past ambassador for Ghana. He's now currently the head of the Ghana Media Commission. He's been a mentor since I was a teenager. And he was a strong advocate for old quotes, which are still pretty cool now. Like, for example, a pen is mightier than a sword. But he is the reason why I believe passionately about African stories and continue to try to share them on multiple platforms.
Nice. Sounds beautiful. Jennifer, can you let us know a little bit about yourself and where you're calling in from?
Okay,
Everyone else is from Ghana, so let us know.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Ediame. I'm calling in from Lagos, Nigeria. Yes, so like everyone else, I've been lucky enough to have been mentored. I mean, I have a personal mentor whom I met in 2005 when I started this internship program at Journalists Against AIDS. His name is Mr. Lekan Otunfodirin. He's currently the online editor for the Nation newspaper, one of the national newspapers here in Nigeria. So I'll say I was very lucky to have him serve as a personal mentor because he really helped me launch out my career very early as a journalist. And lately I've been experimenting with a lot of like online journalism, and that was what inspired the new project I'm currently working on, which is the Rural Reporters Project. So basically the goal is to create an online platform where young people, students, and organizations can share their community stories without inhibition. You know, the usual like restraints people get when they try to contribute to mainstream media. And
Wow.
yeah.
Very cool. Cool. All right, next up we have Kofi Yabwa. Kofi, please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Thelma. My name is Kofi Yabwa. I work as a communications manager for Clinton Ghana, an innovative company that provides portable in-house toilets to the urban poor in Kumasi. Aside that, I lead back in Ghana an activity of Ghana Think Foundation. My personal mentor, actually there are two. One is my mother. She's my main mentor. One of the things that I believe my mother taught me so much, and up to now she stood as, is to believe in myself. As a youth, I'm very smallish, and people might use that as a weakness, but my mom taught me not to fall for that trap. And she's been the source of strength of my achievements so far. Aside that, one of my mentors in terms of corporate is Charles Kofi Fekpe, who lives in the UK now as a financial consultant. He's been very productive in my life and contributed a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent. And then finally we have Nina Werner. Can you please also introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. So I'm Nina. I'm calling in from Nairobi in Kenya. I was with Mara Foundation, and we've set up quite a few mentorship programs in Tanzania specifically, but now also in Kenya, and we're looking at Nigeria, South Africa. And we also have an online mentorship platform that we've been rolling out in those countries. In terms of personal mentor, I don't think I have like kick-ass mentors like you guys. It's more like a close friend of mine who's with whom we've been going through a lot together, and someone I can brainstorm with, and someone that I really trust, and who always gives great advice. So I'd say she should be my mentor.
Okay, excellent. And as we're talking today, we're going to be talking about peer mentors, people that we know in our own age groups who we bounce ideas off of, and in a way are mentors in our lives, as well as, I mean, Oprah is a mentor for me. I don't know her, I've never met her, she doesn't know me, but yes, so how public figures in a way can also be mentors. So we'll touch on a few different things today. But to begin with, I guess to set the background, the first question we wanted to pose was about the state of African youth. So we're talking about African youth on the continent as well as in the diaspora. We're hoping a particular panelist who's based in the US will be able to join us and speak about the experience of African descended peoples in the US. But in general, we want to start with your sense of where African youth are. What are their dreams for the future? Can they dream? Is there a vision for the future? There's so much talk about the position of African youth where we're the youngest continent. You know, the youth here have the potential to have a lot of influence. And so just want to get your sense of what the outlook of youth is. And we'll start, I want to hear all of you on this particular topic. So we can go in reverse order and start with Nina.
Yeah, so state of the youth, I think, is there's a lot of excitement. A lot of people want to do a lot of things, and I don't want to sound pessimistic when I say this, but I think it's not always realistic. I think a lot of the youth, you know, they see a lot of success stories and great people out there, and there's this sense of, right, so if I have this idea and I can do it overnight, I'll become a millionaire and it'll be super easy. I think part of you know, the work that we are doing is making success realistic and making everyone understand that, you know, you can do it, but it's also hard work. So I think there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of wants and needs and capabilities of doing absolutely amazing things. I think just sometimes just need to be realistic as well.
Okay, great. I'm remembering something I heard at a conference, lots of conferences, a conference last year about how this so-called Africa Rising that is really about, you know, who is willing to make a sacrifice and work hard. It's not a quick win for anybody. So it's great that you make that point early on. Kofi, can you add something? What's, you know, the youth that you get to interact with, how are they feeling about Africa's future? Ooh, I think Kofi might be frozen. Okay, while we wait for Kofi, Jennifer, can you add something?
Okay, sure. Speaking from a personal experience, I mean, as due to the nature of my work, I get to interact with young people in Nigeria. I mean, not a lot of them, but I have a good sense of what energy, what passion, and what optimism a lot of young people here share. So, I mean, I would say, just like Nia said, there are a lot of young people who are very passionate about the continent. They really want to give up themselves. They want to, unlike in the past where young people just sit, you know, and hope for someone to come and deliver them from whatever challenges they are facing. I'm seeing more people take on personal responsibilities and find solutions to whatever problems or challenges they are being faced with. I mean, also in line of this, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of youth organizations, you know, emerging at the grassroots. A lot of people want to do something about the issues, despite the fact that there's a high rate of unemployment. For example, people are not allowing that dissuade them from taking action. But again, my only concern would say there's been so much duplicated efforts. You know, I would love to see a situation whereby young people would learn that culture of more collaboration beyond just like people standing on a pedestal and trying to take glory for whatever things they do. So yeah, that's what I'll say. There's a lot of challenges locally, but people are taking more responsibility and not waiting just for the government.
Okay, great. And amongst that, you want to see more collaboration.
More collaboration.
Got it. Okay. Emmanuel, can you add some more?
I think I agree with the hope, the hopeful aspect. I think that's one of the awesome things about being young, right? So you can always kind of dream and hope and have this optimistic outlook. One of the things that I think sets us apart is also there's this energy among young Africans. If you go anywhere, if it's on the streets of Accra, if you're in Lagos, you're in Cote d'Ivoire, if you're in Togo, Lome, you speak to young people and there's this energy or willingness to do something. Sometimes it's almost anything at some point. But one of the things that is really interesting is that there are certain things that could help us become better, and those challenges we might talk about in a bit later. But some of them might be just collaboration, purposefully thinking of stuff, or access to funding and other things. But I think generally, if it was in the two words that I'd sum it up, it's hopeful energy. I think African young people on the African continent are energetic and we're hopeful.
Okay. We almost have no choice but to be hopeful and energetic, absolutely. Elizabeth?
Um, I think that African youth are an untapped resource. There are a lot of us. I think the majority of African countries have a lot of youth populations, and I've traveled to South Africa and Ghana, but I could speak on. In South Africa, I found that there was a lot of as everybody has said, there's a lot of energy. There is the need for youth to come up with solutions to any pressing issues that they're tasked with. And likewise in Ghana, I feel like there is such a burst of people, just everybody's doing something. And I feel as though rather than the old school where people were complacent and just sitting down and settling for the status quo, people are actually trying to do something these days. I recently met with a lady at Huawei, which is the Forum for African Women Educationalists, and she told me of a story that one of her students had developed a mosquito repellent just from tree bark and leaves, and she was on her way to Kenya. And so, respective of the question, I believe that African youth are empowered and they're on their way to actually making changes and making an impact.
Okay, excellent. And Ebenezer, I want to get your last contributions to this, and then I think okay, go ahead.
I think being last, I just have to say I definitely agree with most of what everyone has said. Youth today, especially in Ghana, and especially the people that I have got the chance to interact with, feel a sense of positivity around young people. They generally feel like they have a lot of resources and they have a lot of the technology and opportunities that just did not exist for the generation before them, and so they feel a sense of empowerment and they feel they really have a chance to make deep impacts across Africa. But there's also a sense of burden where a lot of young people feel like they are being asked a lot to put Africa and society first before themselves. And a lot of young people I've met are also struggling with that, struggling with balancing big social impact with personal gain and personal enrichment.
Mm-hmm. We seem to be losing Ebenezer for now. That was an excellent point he was getting to, and I imagine at Ashesi where there's a serious emphasis on sort of social impact and the broader picture. I can see how students are struggling with that particular question. Hopefully we'll get him back on very soon. But the responses that you guys gave in terms of where youth are situated now in their experience really is a great segue into mentorship in particular, and how mentorship starts to begin to help to get youth to focus a little bit and see where it is that they can make the most impact. And so on that particular point, we want to ask the question of how you guys personally define mentorship and what you see as its potential for changing outcomes for youth on the continent and in addition in the diaspora. So if we can get a few responses on that particular point, starting with Elizabeth. So and then see its impact, its potential impact for the continent, for youth on the continent.
Okay, I think if you recall when we first met, we had a brief discussion about mentorship, and it seems like in Ghana or in this environment, mentorship seems like a speed thing, and then like it's quick, you meet the person and it's over, and that was not the connection or the reference, the point of reference that I had back in the U.S. or back in New York. And I mentioned to you that mentorship to me is a long-term thing. And it's a relationship between one or two people or more people where there's shared resources and shared perspectives and knowledge about certain things. And for me, as I mentioned earlier, Kelly Pierre has been my mentor since I was 13. And this woman was with me when I was going to boarding school. She and her husband took me instead of my parents. So that's the kind of relationship that I would like to see that youth and young people in Ghana and elsewhere on the continent and in the diaspora can have with their mentors.
Okay, okay. And then I want to pose the same question to you, Kofi, because Barcamp is a program in which mentoring is a component, and we do speed mentoring as a way to at least have people connect with each other and begin some kind of a relationship. So how do you see mentorship? If you have a response to what Elizabeth has contributed, you can also add that.
Thank you, Tema, for the question, and I think Elizabeth made a very valid point. I'll just add a little bit to it. So far with what we've been doing at bar camps, I think that it's sort of like a direction we are giving to young people. I mean, with the mentorship, it's sort of a direction you're giving to young people to and already ideas that they have, solutions they have to problems across the continent, which I think is a good thing because, as we all said, the energy is there, but how do we direct the energy towards the right thing? And I think that's the most important thing that we are trying to achieve at various Barcamp events. But out of these events, I think that I have come to realize that young people really, really need mentorship. Even though some of them do not understand what it means, but the few minutes they have with these experts, these mentors, it's profound. That few moments, the things they gain out of these few moments of interaction is interesting, because some of these mentors reveal to them things that they had already thought of, but had no idea about how to do it. For me, I think that is very important, and also it gives them or the leverage on it to be able to escape some of the mistakes that our predecessors or these mentors did, and so they're able to leap on that and then grow Africa as we want to.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that contribution. Nina, though we'll have a question later on about technology and mentorship in particular, but I want to see how you define mentorship, I guess, coming from an organization that is using technology to facilitate mentorship.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with Elizabeth in the sense that, you know, if you can have a long relationship with your mentor, that will provide a lot of value. But I've also been in a situation where I've been introduced to someone and we just had an hour and a half Skype conversation, and, you know, maybe 2-3 times a year, get an email, catching up very quickly, but like the most of the mentoring was that, you know, Skype session. So I think there is value to that as well, especially if it's more on a technical business basis that you're looking for mentors. If it's more personal in the sense that, you know, what am I going to do with my career? Should I be changing jobs? You know, my boss is making me miserable. What should I do about it? You know, things that affect you more personally. Then obviously you want someone who's in there for the long haul. When it comes to someone that can be very technical, or, you know, looking over your revenue models or looking over your customer pipeline, things like that, that relationship. But mentorship is always a relationship to go two ways. I think maybe some people think or have the expectations that a mentorship relationship is only the mentee taking from the mentor and learning and getting information and connection from them. But as a mentor, you get so much satisfaction and so much sharing on information, and you learn a lot as well. So I think those are really the important foundations of mentorship for me.
Okay, excellent. And you brought up a point that we'll address in a later question, but getting into the nitty-gritties of the mentoring relationship, and Kimeli will pick up with the next set of questions about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Thelma. Before I go ahead to ask the question, I just wanted to flag a couple of comments. Yeah, I just wanted to flag a couple of comments various people are sending via social media. One of our panelists, Gamo, says that he's grateful to be broadcasting from City 97.3 office, Midasi. Amazing crew and reception. So we thank City FM on Gamo's behalf for making it possible for him to join our discussion. And another tweet came in from Ato, also from Ghana, I think. He says, today is all about the second Diaspora Camp online series at 2 p.m. We are discussing youth mentorship. So hopefully we'll be getting more comments from various people who are interested in this discussion. We've said a lot about mentoring and mentorship, what people understand by mentoring and their various experiences. So the question I'd like to ask quickly, possibly starting from Jennifer, is how do you go about the process of selecting a mentor? If you are the maintain a relationship, what do you look out for ideally when you are selecting a mentor? And maybe you've already started mentoring some people. How do you go about selecting your mentees?
Personally, I would say one of the things we should be very conscious of is the fact that when it comes to mentorship, it has to be a very conscious effort. I mean, people say randomly, oh, that person is my mentor. And then I ask, does that person know that he or she is your mentor? I mean, do you just assume, or you just, because people have shown the word mentorship around a lot lately, and my concern is always the fact that we usually don't approach this from a very conscious way, you know, allowing whoever it is that you want to mentor, you know that this is the reason why I'm here. So one of the notes I would like to sound is for us to be more conscious, right? Young people, when you have somebody you admire, or you just need an area of your life where you think needs to shape up, it's very important to first identify someone who is already doing what it is you want to do, or just someone who has a good reputation and you can depend on to give you the right counsel in the areas of where you are in it. So when it comes to selecting a mentor, the first thing is identification, like identifying someone in line with what it is you want to address, meet the person, and then build a relationship, because it's very important. Then another thing, like I was telling a friend recently, that I am looking towards like getting a female mentor, because most of people who I really have influence in my life are all males, like people of the opposite sex. And I was sharing with how I need a female mentor, somebody who is operating from a place of rest. Because if you look at it, we live in a very fast-paced world. Everybody is in a hurry. So even sometimes older people that we think should mentor us don't really have time for themselves, not talk of giving of themselves to a younger person. So I think it's very important to also ensure that the person is operating from a place of rest, the person is not bombarded, the person is not oversourced. Because sometimes you might see somebody out there who is a celebrity, and then you might feel the person can be a good mentor, but then the person is already overstocked with work and might not really have anything to contribute. Or the person might have something to contribute, but might not really have the time. And you know, when it comes to mentorship, it's a really demanding thing. Something strange happened to me recently. So there was this young girl I was mentoring indirectly. No, it was indirect mentorship. And my ideal mentorship is not just one way to people sit together and talk about issues, but I think it's also like an approach I try to adopt is getting people to have hands-on experience in whatever issues they're trying to solve. So the little girl came to me to say, hey, I would like you to be my mentor. I mean, I want to build a career around volunteering and all that. And then I sent her links to volunteer opportunities. And then one Saturday I called her to say, okay, so are you available today? And then she went overboard. She was like so hysterical. I think she was stressed out. And then I realized that, oh, okay, so this person didn't really just want to work, but she also needed a lot of playtime. So my mistake then was not realizing that not everybody just like the whole 360 degrees approach to work. People just sometimes just need somebody who is older to just relax with and just chat about other life issues. So from that, I learned the important the importance in defining the kind of mentorship or mentoring role you want to play in the life of people. So 3 things just to re-emphasize: 1, the identifying the person, and 2, making sure that person is available and not just somebody you just want to identify with for the sake of rubbing off from person's prominence and all that. And then 3, defining the kind of mentoring role you want the person to play in your life. And I mean, it doesn't have to be one mentor. You can have more than one. You can have one for career, one for personal life, and one for spirituality, as you want it. Yeah.
I really enjoy your comment on having that common link in terms of activity base, because as a teacher, many of the students have formed stronger bonds with over the years. Those ones who like have interest in various things that I'm personally interested in, and once you can identify that level of interest and enthusiasm in the person, it becomes easy to build a relationship, build skills, and achieve whatever it is that's set about the relationship. I think, Kofi, I'll be really interested. I mean, Jennifer says before you approach someone, you need to have certain things in common. I mean, for your mom, you have no choice because I mean she gave birth to you. Obviously, you already have that relationship with her since you admire a lot. But I don't know if you can give us a little breakdown of how you got into touch with Charles and how that's worked out so far.
Thank you, Gambali. Just to continue with the point that Jennifer made, indeed, my mom is very close to me, and I can sort of informally go to her at any time. However, with some mentors that help build my profile, my corporate life, or are still building, I met them through social media, which I value so much. I sometimes think social media was created for me, sort of. So for instance, Charles like this, I met Charles through Facebook, and he's been following my posts and all of that, and I sent him a friend request after he had commented on a friend's post, and then that is where the relationship started. And so he was, not knowing, he was following almost all my posts and sort of trying to see where this guy is going. Is he focused or is not focused? Even though I had not told him anything about him mentoring me. And then he stated on his Facebook post that he wants to get some people who read books. And I sent him a private message that, hey, I'm interested. Yeah. And then he said, oh, nice. So that is where the relationship began. And then from there, it's been on and on and on. I think that one of the things that most young people do not or take for granted is social media platforms. For me, I think that you can get a lot of mentors through that. I have met people like Bright Simmons who once in a while mentor me through social media, Facebook. That is the most easiest channel to get people. And so when you are presenting yourself on such platforms, you should know what you are putting there.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I've also met a couple of very interesting people through social media, and some of them I've not even met them in real life yet. Like one lady on Twitter, Abna Sewa, she's giving me a lot of career advice because she's into the health sciences as well. And I mean, we've never even met in real life, so I mean that's really powerful, Kofi, to hear that. So to go straight to another set of question, and I think this time we can have Nina to give us a little bit more light. What's the value of mentoring for the mentor? You work with an organization whose business is to mentor young Africans. Is there any value when you are doing that kind of work?
There definitely is. I mean, otherwise there would be no mentors in this world. And there are amazing mentors, as we've all discussed. I think the value for a mentor is, for one, learning from them, right? Going back to where you were maybe just a few years ago, maybe 20 years ago. So there's the whole learning process. But I think most and foremost, it's the satisfaction, and I guess it's probably quite selfish, but it's about you being able to be part of someone else's success and contributing to that. And without any vested interest, you're not an investor, you're not a person's banker, you're not a client or anything. So you give the knowledge and the experience that you have, and in exchange for that, you become part of a success. And that feeling, you can't put a price tag on that. And knowing that as a human being, you contribute to making this place slightly better. If you want to become a bit philosophical and all of that, I think it's the role that a mentor can play, and that's what you get back.
Thank you very much, Ebenezer. Yeah, what do you think are some of the benefits that mentors can also get from their relationship with their mentees?
I think, from my experience, and especially depending on exactly what the mentor-mentee relationship is, the mentor also gets an opportunity to learn from the person that they're mentoring. I'll take myself, for example. If I'm working with students at a Shesi, and they come to me for feedback, and I'm sharing some thoughts with them. Engaging with young people in that way also helps you to understand the different challenges that you might not necessarily be able to perceive from where you are. And so, take Kofi, who is being mentored by Charles, their interactions helps Charles understand some of the unique challenges here in Ghana, helps him understand some of the very real ways in which he can actually connect with Ghana and kind of support work that's happening in Ghana. But also, just like Nina was saying, it also gives you a great sense of fulfillment in knowing that you've actually been able to help someone navigate a problem, how to manage their careers, how to manage their problems. It also comes with a really deep sense of fulfillment. And I think you can't put a price tag on that, just like Nina said. And so it's really important that we try to engage people in that way. And I think that those are some of the benefits that mentors definitely receive in a mentor-mentee relationship.
Covered the issues. Yeah, thank you very much. I think you've really covered the issue. I don't know if anybody else on the panel will be interested to add a point to this. Maybe Emmanuel, do you have something to say?
Normally, I always have something to say, Kamali. But thank you very much. I think one of the things that I also wanted to take note was also it's kind of like multi-directional learning, right? And I think sometimes now we have a tag or a name that we put on what we call mentorship, but at the end of the day, really, it is a relationship. It is learning from people, and especially in the technology age where we have new skills that are learned really quickly by a younger generation, new gadgets that sometimes can overwhelm an older group of people. Mentorship is key.
Okay, it looks like we lost Emmanuel briefly. Okay, I see him coming back on. And Gameli's screen may be frozen. In the meantime, if everyone hears me, in the meantime, wanted to pose the same question to Jennifer, since you've spoken about your experience being a mentor. So what is the benefit for you personally? You're muted right now, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, correct. Sorry, thanks. Personally, for me, I see mentorship as an opportunity for me to draw from the wealth of knowledge of younger people. You know, sometimes, I mean, I'm 30, but there are a lot of things I learned from my 24 years old, 23-year-old, and even younger mentees. You'll be surprised, because sometimes as a mentor, you might you might think, oh, you know everything and it's your opportunity to invest in the younger generation. But with time, you realize that, oh, these kids are actually also teaching you a lot of things as a person. So personally, in the course of my relationship with the younger generation, I've been able to build a level of I've been able to okay, I've been able
Hi.
to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that.
Courtney, please mute your microphone. Thank you.
All right, sorry, I was wondering what was going on. Okay, so I've been able to like learn one of the things from them. Then also another thing I will also point out is the fact that there are other soft skills you learn in process of mentoring people. Because normally, I mean, when it comes to mentorship, we usually just assume that sometimes we assume that it's just about this person learning and learning and learning from me. But it's also a way for you to sit back, you know, and build that listening skills and not try to preach at anyone and not try to just enforce anything at anyone, but listen to their stories, let them share their aspirations, their visions and all that, and then direct them in the line according to what they want to achieve. For example, there was this girl who told me, oh, I want to be a fashion designer. And then at the end of our discussion, one of the things she told me was, do you know, for a minute, I thought I was worried that you tell me to drop my fashion ambition and go to school. I mean, I was like, why would I do that? And she said, because I know you're so academically inclined and all that. I was like, no. I mean, that would be aborting your dream. I mean, that would be brutal for me to do that to you. So I think it's very important. It helps us also build our listening skills, and then of course, the one everybody has spoken so much about, it helps impact the generation coming because you don't want to leave the world with all the skills and all the knowledge. So it's a way of giving back to the society and ensuring that um, your I call it a way of duplicating yourself in other people so that many years after now when you're done, people you have many of you in other people because you've invested in them and then you've sown a seed, a positive seed in their lives. Thanks.
Okay. That's like poetry right there. That's beautiful. And Emmanuel, just to go back to what you were saying, you know, the idea of legacy comes to mind when you're talking about sort of leaving yourself in other people. But just again, I just want to make a point about what you said, Jennifer, about like the humility involved in actually mentoring somebody effectively, because it's not about having someone replicate what you did, but getting them to figure out what the path is that they need to take. So, Emmanuel, if you can finish up what you were saying.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was mentioning relationships, and if you think of any relationship, the productive, positive ones are where there's a feedback loop, right? You're giving, you're also getting. It's not a one-way street. So it was more to the general consensus of what mentors can also get from a mentor-mentee relationship, and that's also, especially, it's even more obvious now when you have technology with new iterations of products, the way we communicate, the way we share, the way we kind of create things has been facilitated by media and the internet in such a profound way that a lot of older people find, a lot of young people have expertise that they probably didn't have. And so it's actually very practical and tangible. When you're with young people, besides the energy, the fresh ideas, it's also new and innovative things that didn't necessarily weren't established in the older generation. So it's really awesome to see. And for me, it's great because I get to help my my older mentors or people I work with who are a bit older, who are not necessarily blog savvy. They're not savvy on the next iteration of YouTube. They're not necessarily onto Twitter yet. So those are the practical things. But then the non-practical or non-tangible things, there's so many as well, because we get to be their eyes and their ears, and we get to also help them be young and connect with our energetic hope. Whereas probably later on in their lives, they look at things through their tempered and experienced lenses. But young people, we're just optimistic for being young. So there's so many benefits to that. Yeah. So it's important that in most mentor-mentee situations, it's a relationship. It's a feedback loop where you're giving, you're getting, and you're also offering, and you're learning. And then when you have the opportunity to, somebody said humility, to also share, then you also share in the best light you can, so that the mentor and the mentee both can reap.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Um, Real quick, we've been joined by somebody, Courtney. Courtney's joining us from the Washington, D.C. area. I'm not exactly sure where, but Courtney, could you get on real quick and introduce yourself? Or unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Yes, hey, hello to everyone. I would say good morning or good afternoon, but it depends on your time zone. Just wanted to say hello. I'm Courtney Grange, Executive Director of Future Leaders Young Entrepreneurs out of the Washington, D.C., Maryland area. We focus on mentorship for minority males through entrepreneurship and professional development, basically teaching them the life skills of how to start a business, understand the concept of bringing a thought into reality, into something tangible, as well as how to conduct yourself on a regular basis when it comes to everything from interviewing to networking to developing relationships, everything in between, kind of connecting the dots between what happens with young males in our society when they leave high school all the way when they go through adulthood in that transition period. So happy to be here and be on the panel with everybody else, and looking forward, like I said, to learning from all of you all, and hopefully be able to impart some knowledge as well.
Thank you, Courtney. We're really happy to have you. Gameli, can you move us on to our next set of questions? Very good. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. So this question, this comment first from somebody via Facebook. It's called David Tete. He says mentorship is a vital key for any young individual who wants to do well in life. With a good mentor, one is able to guide and shape. A good mentor is able to guide and shape your focus so far as pursuits are concerned. This means that you are less likely to repeat mistakes based on their guidance and the opportunity of having people who may have all the resources and know how to get to your goals and ambitions. So that's like a treatise on mentorship by one David Tete. And there's somebody who is also tweeting a lot on the topic called Sam Rock, at Sam Rock on Twitter. He says your friend can be your mentor to choose them right. So that connects with Nina's point. Another point is that mentorship shouldn't just end after speed mentoring in terms of backcomes. Our mentors should be reachable. Choose a mentor who will have time for you, again from Sam Rock. So I'll just go on and look at the next set of questions. And this question will be really interesting, I think, for Kofi, who's been doing a lot in terms of backcamps and is also just trying to come out of the blocks. So Kofi, what do you think is the value in peer mentoring, and how do you leverage your networks in terms of your contemporaries to really nurture each other and derive as much benefits as possible?
Thank you, Gamali. It's interesting that some people despise the use of peer mentoring. Sometimes we do not see the value of our own friends and how we get sort of mentorship from them. For me, one of the people I will mention is Atu Oz and Apia. We are not even age mates, but the gap is not so much. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. I learn a lot from him. Ato is such a vibrant guy with much positive thinking. He changed my whole perception about how to look at things in Ghana. As we all complain, something is not working, something is not working. What are the things working? Why can't you focus on the things that are working? How do you stretch yourself? Do you think that you have a limit? Actually, you didn't know you could go beyond that limit. So Ato is someone who will push you to that extent. He's always on his knees and his toes with a kind of humility. So you see, these are some of the attitudes that I learned from my peers. And using that as an example, one of the points I want to put across is that the people who are close to us that we think are even our age mates, let's learn a lot from them. The things that we know we can, let's learn from them, and just don't look up to grown-ups and all that. Yes, the grown-ups are there, but some of these people have enough time for you. I mean, your peers have much time for you than a grown-up. I have been mentored by some known people across the world, and trust me, once you're even on a Skype meeting with them, they are in their kitchen working. these are real, and they don't have enough time for you. But with your own peers, you learn without even asking. And I think we should capitalize on it as youth. Let's learn from our own youth. It's also important. Thank you.
And Ebenezer, I think I would like to hear your views also in terms of the Ashesi environment. How does peer mentoring work?
I think it really plays out very often at Chelsea. We have a very strong alumni association, and part of the reason why Chelsea is so concerned about its alumni association, it's because we really believe that you have a group of like-minded people with similar experiences who have been through a very similar educational process, and so always when you have one thing that someone said was every time one class graduates, another class comes in, you get a new set of people with very different perspectives, and you rely on the people around them to kind of help them understand the differences in the environments they're in. And so you really, just like Kofi was saying, when you have really strong peer mentors, it helps you because you have a sense of these are people who have been where I am, who know exactly what I'm going through, who know they've taken their classes that I've taken, they've had the same problems with the lectures that I have. And so they very easily connect with that more than talking to, for example, someone who has never been in the same classes that they have been in. And so peer mentoring really allows for a more intimate, I think, interaction with mentors and mentees. And it really helps young people understand how some of the people around them have really dealt with their problems. And you can see it in a very real way because these are people that, as you know, I wouldn't say maybe they are almost the same age as you, but they are not too far away from you. They are not too disconnected in terms of ambition and in terms of achievements. And so when you get peer mentors, it really helps you understand in a very real way how you can also work through some of your own challenges and your own situations.
Thank you very much. And also, Courtney, I'd like to hear your views in the context of the group that you run, the African American Youth Network, the future leaders and youth entrepreneurs. Do you run any peer mentoring models?
Kamali, before we get Courtney on board, could we get some? Could we get some last words from Nina?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I have to leave early. I'm actually a mentor at Startup Weekend here in Nairobi. Yeah, no, I was actually really agreeing with your point that I think you are always both. You are never only a mentor or only a mentee because you always have something to teach and you always have something to learn. Whether if you're someone who just started a business and you're like just a few months or a year into it, you can mentor someone who's considering starting a business, but you will need a mentor who will help you to get to the next step. So I think you're always both. I mean, we all have mentors. That's what we discussed at the very beginning. But we are also mentors to others. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind, to not, put ourselves in boxes. It's about the relationships. It's about the sharing. And it's about learning from each other. So I guess that would be my last thoughts, and I'm gonna share those wise thoughts to people who are trying to start businesses. So thank you very much, and have fun.
Thank you, Nina. We're really grateful for you coming on.
Bye.
Okay.
All right, Kamali, take it away.
Yeah. So I was asking you, Courtney, how the Future Leaders and Youth Entrepreneurs group, how you employ peer mentoring, if you employ it at all.
Yes, yeah, we actually institute a lot of peer mentoring. So the concept of our program is designed to matriculate a student through their entire high school years, so freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. And what we do is every time a student elevates in the year, their part in the program is actually the responsibility of teaching the group of young men that come in behind them. So if you've gone through freshman classes and you're now a sophomore, it's your responsibility to teach certain aspects of freshman classes. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One, as Kofi mentioned, the concept of peer-to-peer mentoring allows for sometimes much better communication because they're not so far removed in age, so they speak a very similar language, but also to reinforce the skills that you just learned. So, for example, if you learned a specific tactic in public speaking, and then you are asked to teach that tactic to somebody else, it reinforces that skill set for you. And it's kind of an aspect of, if you look at it like a muscle, the more you work the muscle, the stronger it gets. So peer-to-peer mentoring allows those muscles that these young men are developing to continuously strengthen as they develop new ones as well. So it's definitely very important, and it's a strong tenet of the program that we run as well.
I think it's now time to go to another set of questions, and Thelma, if you want to take it over.
Okay, sure. Great, thank you for that, Courtney. So following on, so this question was about, so social media has come up. Kofi, you brought up social media and the relationships you can build there. And Nina, who just left, is of course part of the Mara Foundation, which has Mara Mentor, and that's using social media to purposefully focus on mentorship. But if we can get a few more comments about how it is that social media is facilitating mentoring relationships, starting with Elizabeth, if you got some insights on that particular topic in your own personal experience as a social entrepreneur, and then yeah, so starting from there.
Okay. Social media is huge. I think we could all agree. Social media is, I think, part of how I met a lot of you. So in a way, social media is what's advancing a lot of my work, and I think all of you would agree, a lot of your works as well, respectively. And so I think social media, as Kofi had mentioned, is a really excellent platform to recruit mentors and mentees as well. And for me personally, so far, I think since moving back to Ghana, I've connected with people who I otherwise would not have, because I'm based in Kumasi and I don't have so many arms that extend out to the other regions. But social media has connected me to a plethora of people. So I think it's a good avenue and a good way to leverage mentoring.
Great, thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like social media is an integral part of the work that a lot of you do. But if we can get Emmanuel, if he's available right now. Emmanuel, are you there with us? I know he's doing some moving. Okay. If Jennifer, would you mind speaking on this in your own experience, please?
Oh, okay. Social media, yes, it has like a huge base of opportunities for anyone who wants to explore, for anybody who wants to like expand his or her world. Personally, I mean, I used to tell people that most of the jobs I've done, I found them on social media, or like the person connected through social media. And then also, I mean, social media has also been a platform mostly for collaborative work and just social meetup. I have never like really explored it as a tool for mentoring. I was just telling Kofi a while ago that his experience is actually going to encourage me to explore that as a channel to get the right mentors for, for personal and professional growth. At first I'm usually like, the reason why I've never really explored social media as a tool for connecting with potential mentors is because it's such a busy platform, so much is going on, so you just never know if the people whom you might want to connect with might already have so much on their plates, and you don't want to like overwhelm them. So I guess, I mean, I should definitely be more open-minded towards using it as a tool for getting a mentor. Yeah. But otherwise, it's definitely a good channel to build on whatever it is you want to do.
Absolutely, thank you. Ebenezer, if I can pull you in here, is there advice that you give to students about using social media for their personal and professional growth? Yeah, if you could speak to that.
Yes, I think definitely social media is very useful. One of the key tools that I usually encourage students to use, for example, on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a great alumni tool that allows you to kind of see all the people who have attended your institution and where they're working. And so you can actually drill down to the year the person graduated, the degree they had, and the different jobs they've been in since they left school. And this really allows you to see kind of a path for yourself as well. So if I'm doing a computer science major, I can actually look up all the computer science students who have been to my university and kind of see what are the different places they've been since they graduated. And social media allows you to have access in a way that you could never really have offline. You can talk to people whose offices you never get the opportunity to enter if you actually try to meet them face to face, one on one. And you could ask them questions. I've seen my boss, for example, Dr. Patrick Ewa, respond to people on social media. Sometimes people send him a tweet, and he actually takes the time to send them a response. This would have been much harder to do if you had to come up to his office and say, "Hi, can I have a meeting with you?" And so social media really gives a very unprecedented level of access to a lot of young people if they really figure out how to use it well.
Right, thank you. Yeah, and I guess the trick is using it well and being focused on what it is you want to use it for. It can very much be a medium for cat videos or something a bit more purposeful. So yeah, thank you.
Exactly.
Great. So so moving on a little bit, we want to talk a little bit about moving beyond. I guess it's a good extension from the social media idea, but looking at media more broadly and how media figures can or are in fact role models. Okay, so a lot of us pick up a lot of role models from the television shows that we like, the movies that we love, whatever it may be. And so Jennifer, you in particular are a media worker, and hopefully we can get Emmanuel on again to make some additional comments. But I want to ask you about if youth in Africa and as well as the diaspora are getting enough role models through the media. Are celebrities doing a good job of being role models?
That's a very dodgy question. Especially because there's always a debate. I mean, speaking from a personal experience, there was recently, like, we tried to organize this teenage festival, and then I was recommending to this organization these kind of people they can bring on board to entertain the group of teenagers who will be coming, and they were all very like defensive. They were like, no, we don't want that kind of person in the environment because he doesn't have a good reputation. I mean, most celebrities, I mean, I want to judge, but I think what would be awesome is if the media really, speaking to myself also, if we do a better job beyond just like showing the glamorous lifestyles of the celebrities, and also telling their stories, their personal stories, like basically giving a human face to the people out there in order to build trust, so that people won't just look at a celebrity and say, oh, this person is all about drugs or all about women, all about money. I mean, I believe some of them really have deeper values that young people can learn from. So if the media, if we can definitely like do a better job in like showcasing those things, then to help young people make better choices and when it comes to choosing a role model from among these celebrities. So we still have a lot of work to do in that area, but I believe there's a lot of opportunities in that regard. I mean, it's just not yet explored. It's just not yet explored.
Okay. Okay. Kofi, I also want to bring you in on this particular question as a communications professional, and yeah, our media figures doing a good job of setting an example.
Thank you, Thelma. Initially, I wasn't really impressed with what celebrities in quotes are putting out there. It's like there was a lot of selfish, portraying sort of selfish attitude and setting a standard like no one can achieve it, only they can achieve. However, I think my perception was disproved when I met at this musician at he's a musician called Adam. He's a very popular musician. I met him at Metro TV, and he was discussing his success story. And the guy looked very selfless. His speech was not like the usual speech I hear from celebrities. This person was trying to portray the fact that it's hard work and anybody can do it. I was really amazed. I think that, well, maybe 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 10 is trying to change the system. I believe that if other celebrities or people who appear on media very often could toe that line, it could help. Because we spend a lot of our time, especially the youth, watching televisions, watching all sort of programs on televisions. If the presenters, if the celebrities can think that way of utilizing or capitalizing on this medium just to mentor the youth, it would be really awesome. I just hope this will happen. Thank you.
Great. And absolutely, we absolutely need it to happen. Emmanuel, we want to hear you on this particular topic as well, just the role of media in terms of setting, creating role models for the youth to look up to.
Awesome, thank you. I'm glad I got to be back in time for this. Media is huge. I think one of the things that I realized in terms of consumption, entertainment, music, movies, digital consumption is huge. And so on any platform, TV, radio, you realize that a lot of people look up to people who are creative, who are exciting, who entertain. So I think it goes hand in hand. A lot of times we look up to our favorite basketball player, our favorite athlete, our favorite movie star, our favorite radio presenter. I think a good point that Kofi said was, it is really important for these people to know that with the fame, like there's this quote again, quoting from my uncle, like, heavy lies the head that wears the crown. With this great fame that a lot of these entertainers have, there's also this responsibility to know that, hey, you are being looked up to because you have a talent, you're sharing it with the world, but you also have a responsibility. So I think one of the most important things is to create the space so that a lot of people like Edem are celebrated, a lot of people like Becca are celebrated, a lot of people Kwabna who try to put themselves, Achame Kwame, who align themselves with causes and not just for using their brand for making money, but also for having an impact. And we're learning that also in terms of monetary gains, in terms of views and for branding, most of these entertainers benefit as well. So then the entertainers who have a cause and who stand for something, give an example, probably a local and a foreign. So a foreign one would be a John Legend. A John Legend, he usually aligns himself or advocates, and him as a person and as an artist benefits from that because he's not just an entertainer, he's somebody who's talented, gets to entertain you, and stands for something. Similarly with Achame Kwame, I'm thinking of Becca, and she has a concert series just dedicated to women. In terms of radio, Jessica at City FM, she just doesn't use her voice in order to entertain, because she could do that. She could just limit herself to that. So I think it's important if we have entertainers who are listening, who are following this conversation, that it is profitable, it is best for your brand, but also it gives you that feel-good feeling, and you're uplifting the people who are going to be listening to you if you give up and if you reach out and you mentor other people coming up for you. So there's no reason why people should not, especially entertainers, especially musicians, should not intentionally reach out and mentor young people.
Yeah, absolutely. That was inspiring just to hear. And in terms of quotes to add, there's the great one from Spider-Man with great power comes great responsibility or something like that. And so absolutely, I think our public figures definitely have a role to play in terms of setting an example, both in media as well as politics, as well as everyone who has the light on them. Gameli, you want to take the next set of questions?
Yeah, okay, thank you, Thelma. I think I would once again go back to what people are saying on social media. And then I'm going to bring one or two questions because there are actually a few questions coming out from social media as well. Comment from one of our panelists who unfortunately couldn't make it here, Eunice. She says that you should choose your peers well because they affect your future positively. And then the second point she makes is that peer mentorship is a very essential part of human growth. It's locally called peer pressure. So she's saying that peer pressure is often seen as something negative, but we can actually turn it to be something positive. I believe is a point. She's made two more points. One is that depending on the character of people around us, we may learn their attitudes. This is a result of we wanting to belong. And then again, it's advisable to choose your companions carefully, thereby being mentored and be valuable to your society. So those are the inputs from Eunice, who is also actually a panelist. Another one from the Twitter channel at GAYO Ghana. They say mentors mold, they don't create a new you. A good mentor shapes you to do what you love to do and do it right. So again, the other good mentor creates a great mentee. Good mentor is called to great mentee. Mentors make you more than they are. So these are really, really very, very valuable inputs coming in of social media. So I want to, the next question is actually coming again from social media. It's from one of our members called Yom. She asked a question and she says that what role should mentees play in a mentor-mentee relationship? This is one of several questions that Yom is asking. I think some of them have been addressed. So she says, what role should a mentee play in a mentor-mentee relationship? Do you have any points on that, Jennifer?
Okay, I was actually just reflecting on how often, as a mentee, we tend to take and take and take from our mentors, but not really once in a while consciously give back. I mean, we can, of course, being the African society, we can't really openly teach, but we can, through appreciative attitude. I mean, appreciation, always remembering to know how valuable they are in our lives. We should always consciously appreciate them. And then another thing we could do is also look out for their interests. You know, I mean, we definitely in the course of building a relationship, we know what excites these people, or we also know about them, not just them knowing about us. We know their ambitions, their aspirations, and we should look out for their interests and help also shape their careers by passing on any opportunities or any link or any ideas we might have that could be of great value to what they do. So those are two things I can like really that I really like to buttress on. One, looking out for their interest, and then being appreciative and not just taking without giving up. Yeah.
So just a quick follow-up question. What are some of the things that you think a mentee can do to actually show appreciation for the value that the mentor is putting into their life?
Okay, so if the person runs an organization, I mean, as a mentee, one could volunteer. I mean, give of his or her time, and another thing we could do is to give gifts. You know, I mean, gift is always a good way of showing appreciation. And also to, I don't know, most people might not be comfortable with this, but also once in a while, publicly mentioning them publicly, like give them a shout, would also be a way of encouragement. So they would just know. I mean, people don't. Some mentors might not really care, but I mean, I feel it's also a good way to reassure them that you are in this together and not just you feasting on their wealth of knowledge.
Thank you very much, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question coming off social media. This one is coming from a lady called Naomi Kukuro, and it says that as a young person growing up, are you the one to choose your mentor, and how do you go about making that choice if you want to choose a mentor? And I think I'll put that to Kofi. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Gabali. That's a very important question. I think that one, you need to know what you personally want to achieve. So for instance, if you want to toe the line of being a communications expert, or you want to build your confidence, look at somebody that is accessible and can get you the skills that you need in that area. So you know what you want first, and you identify who can help you with that. And then you can approach the person and then sort of start the conversation around it. I think this is the best way, because if you don't go with an agenda, the person will not know what you want. And that was a mistake I did myself with some of my mentors. Yeah, and so I ended up not having any fruitful mentorship with them. And then I realized that, hey, you don't expect the mentor to know what you want. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, there's a lot of interesting questions coming up. There's another one from Yom. I'm going to put this one to Elizabeth because it looks like she's been quiet for some time. So Yom wants to know that if you get a conflicting advice from your mentors, so how do you deal with that?
The question is, what if you get conflicting advice from your mentor? How do you go with that?
Yeah, so you get conflicting advice from different mentors. This person says you should do X, go to school before you get work experience. This person says get work experience before you go to school. I mean, if the advice conflicts, how do you solve it?
I think the most important thing to realize in this whole thing is that the mentor is not the end all be all of everything. They're not there to parent you or to tell you what to do, or just, it's a transactional relationship. They're there to give you advice and you're supposed to receive it, and likewise you're supposed to give advice to them as well, and they also take something in from you. So a mentor is not supposed to inflict their views on you or tell you this is what you should do. They're just to advise you and guide you to the right path. So you have to do your research and seep out what you think is best for you, because your mentor is not supposed to be your mirror image. They're just supposed to be your guide. Thank you. As Kofi likes to end all his statements. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. But sometimes it can be challenging because if you have the advice, if you have the answers to life questions, you probably would not need a mentor. So I think that it's just maybe a person who is actually in that confusing state would need like a lot more practical, advice or steps on how to resolve some of these things. Yeah, you made a good point. You should appreciate that it's your own life, and therefore the mentor cannot decide everything for you. But I don't know, does anyone have like any views on how to, get out of this maze?
Yeah. I mean, I would like to share a personal experience. I agree with Elizabeth. Of course, mentors shouldn't be a mirror. I mean, people shouldn't try to enforce like themselves on you just because they're mentoring you. I think our approach as mentees and as mentors should be the need to be open-minded. I mean, there was a time I was trying to make a career change. I was trying to make a decision, like I had this opportunity and I didn't know what to do with it. And then I emailed my mentor and I said to him, this is my situation, what should I do? And then he showed me, he sent like this email, because then I was not in Nigeria, so I couldn't meet him in person. So the conversation was via email. So he sent me this very long email, and then I was like excited that at the end of the day I would probably have have the answer to my question. But after reading his email, the last line ended with, at the end of all this, you have to follow your heart. And I was actually expecting him to tell me, do this, don't do that. But what he did was to give me options. He looked at the issue holistically, and he told me, if you take this, this is what will happen. If you take this, this is what will happen. So, I mean, he was really open enough to let me know the consequences of making a choice, and then he allowed me, he left me with the choice of making that decision. At the end of the day, really, what that did to me was that it helps build my ability to make choices, without totally depending on him all the time. And it made me more proactive in making my life choices myself. But I really appreciated the fact that he allowed me to do that, and then I also appreciated the fact that he was open enough to give me the options, to allow me to see the whole picture, drawing from his experience as a mentor. He didn't preach at me, and he didn't tell me this is what you must do. Yeah, I hope that helps the person who asked the question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elizabeth, and then Jennifer. Okay, so I want to go to the next set of questions. I think this will be very interesting for Elizabeth and Courtney. I think Courtney goes first, and then Elizabeth comes in later. Do you think it's really important, considering the kind of program you run, Courtney? Do you think it's really important for your mentor to look like you? Do you have to have like something in common, be it race or gender or something necessarily, before you have a mentor-mentor relationship with somebody?
Thank you. I think that's actually a very, very good point, especially here in the United States, where, majority of the time the people that are educating us do not look like us. So I would say yes and no. So mentors can look like the young people or the individuals that they're mentoring. However, it is not necessarily 100% needed. It's more so needed for that mentor to understand or be, I guess I could say, sensitive to what that person needs. So, for example, if I am mentoring a young athlete and I'm not an athlete, it would be intelligent of me as a mentor to bring in athletes that can look and speak and talk the language of the person that I'm mentoring. It doesn't mean that I have to do it. I just have to be intelligent enough to know that that's what's needed to mentor this young person. And to the point that just was made previously in regards to, at the end of the day, you have to follow your heart. I think in mentoring, it's a very, very good. It's very key to understand that the people that are being mentored or the mentee, at the end of the day, they have to follow what they trust and what they see and what sounds best to them, what they feel as though is the right path. And that can come from anybody. That can come from a male, a female, a black person, a white person. However, I do think that there's a specific responsibility, especially for black people in the United States and in the diaspora, to take that responsibility into their hands, because we don't have that on a regular basis. So if we don't do it, somebody else will do it. And if that other person does it, then it's up to, I guess, how it's done is left in their hands. And I personally just prefer it being in my hands. I want to see my people develop based on the things that I have access to and a sound understanding of my cultural heritage. So I think that's kind of the yes piece of it, as opposed to the no, is that especially in the United States, where there's a strong lack of cultural identity, just because for the most part, most of us do not know where we initially originate from, that goes into a big piece of mentorship. Because at the end of the day, here, you're always going to be seen a different way. It's not as though everybody that we see, all the people in power or all the people that we're looking up to, all the people that are successful look like us. So it's important for those of us that do have those positions to take the responsibility to teach others how to navigate this plane, how to get to these points, what access points exist. A mentor of mine put it best where he said, if you are a mentor, it's your responsibility to stand in the gap. And what that means is, if you think of a door that's closing and somebody that comes in and holds that door open, that is standing in the gap. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going through the door and closing it behind me. It means that it's my responsibility to hold that door open for others to squeeze through and get through as much as possible. So from a cultural perspective, as diaspora, I think it's very important as mentors that we hold that gap. We hold that position available. We hold these spaces open for others to come through and follow their heart and get to where they need to get to.
I think you've made some really, really powerful points, and considering the kind of society that the United States I think, yeah, it's really important we have these kinds of programs in place to strengthen people culturally and mentally. So I'll pass the same question to Elizabeth for her to add her own point of view to this.
All right. Okay. I think I can't follow up Courtney's remarks any better. I think he said it really beautifully that mentors are supposed to hold the door for us. But irrespective of the question, do we want our mentors to look like us? I would say probably no, because the lady who I mentioned at the beginning, Kelly Pierre, looks nothing like me. She's Caucasian with a lot of stringy hair and looks nothing like me, but she's been a great resource in my life. And she's been a person who's been holding that door for me and opening up certain things to me. And I'm hoping that like with the Girls Education Initiative of Ghana, or GIG, as we recruit our mentors, one of the things that I keep insisting is that our girls have young people who they could look up to, because I feel that oftentimes there are not enough reflections of them for them to emulate in the society here in Ghana or elsewhere. There's so much responsibility on them to be a certain type of person and certain type of leaders that they're not seeing those people in the community. So for them, I would say yes, they need people who look like them, who are aspiring to the lens that I want them to be. And for me personally, I say no, because I think a lot of people have paved the way for me that don't look like me at all, but they've had such great impact in my life. So I just want to echo everything that Courtney was saying.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we still have lots and lots of inputs coming in from social media. I'm just going to read a couple of them, and then Thelma will take up the final round of questions, I believe. This one is coming in from Yom. She's talking about LinkedIn here. She says that on LinkedIn, requesting to connect without an introduction of who you are and why you want to connect is a very big mistake. So please take note of that. If you are adding someone on LinkedIn and you are not really in the person's network, you should try to make some introduction. Same thing on Facebook, I think. And also asking people to follow you back on Twitter. If the person cannot determine it for themselves, I think it's a problem. Another one is with people seeking mentorship on social media, asking something, that is like asking a specific something, a connection without establishing anything in return is also a problem, Yom says. Another tweet coming in from @Tamale Ghana says, mentoring is best way to give back to society. You don't give your mentee fish, you teach them how to fish. That's coming from @Tamale Ghana on Twitter. Input from Samuel Tetefio. He says that I've been in touch with one of my mentors, Edem Ajaho, through social media. I learn a lot from her every day through her post. Yes, I'm Ajaho. I'm not met Edem Ajaho before. Maybe I should connect. Peer mentoring is the best. There is so much understanding of each other, no judging. And this one is coming from @Kwesi Bruce. So thank you very much for your questions and various inputs. We are working hard to note each and every one of them and to bring them, feed them back into this discussion. And so Thelma, if you want to finish with the last round of questions.
Okay, great. So the last question is about institution building, and the fact that there are lots of initiatives, including many of our own on this panel, focused on mentoring youth and pushing youth forward. But we want to talk about how do we make these things, how do we strengthen these things with best practices, basically. And to have a representative of Ashesi on the line is something that we can't, miss the opportunity to pose this question to you, Ebenezer, about how it is Ashesi is engaging in institutional mentorships in terms of helping to develop the capacity of education and youth-serving institutions on the continent. So, if there's a formal way that Ashesi is engaged in this or an informal way, can you tell us about it? And then we can broaden the question to other people's experiences as well.
So are you asking about institutional mentorship? Is that
Essentially, yes, institutional
is that
mentorship, and yes, and the
okay?
idea of like how do
Uh,
we create more chassis on the continent is a favorite question of Ato's.
okay. Okay. So, so I think one of the really useful things to always consider is when you come into any environment or when you are in a certain place. w- What I've come to learn, especially from the Ashesi example, is Ashesi really help people see a very different way in which education could be run. And so it was a very different approach. You know, Ashesi had a liberal arts education, very Africa-centric, very focused on ethics and moral training. And by Ashesi taking that kind of direction, it really helped a lot of other institutions question their own educational practices and kind of see a broader perspective as to what they can really achieve with education. And so one of the key things that Ashesi has been trying to do is we really do try to engage a lot of young people in other institutions and in other organizations across Africa. And the idea is that if you kind of raise the expectations that people have of the organizations they work with and the institutions they study in, it really helps them push those institutions to kind of do more and to kind of really focus on more impactful work, more meaningful work, as opposed to, especially for universities, as opposed to just having students come to school and graduate and just walk away with a degree. You really have to focus on helping those young people, empowering those young people to kind of actively engage the problems they see around them. And so Oshesi has really been trying to engage in helping broaden the conversation, not necessarily trying to teach other people what to do, or not necessarily trying to create other Ashesis per se, but just helping people understand there's a very broad perspective as to what we can achieve with education, and people should really ask themselves more meaningful questions about the work they do. And so I'm not sure if that answers the question, but that's one of my key takeaways from the work that Ashesi is doing, is that we've really helped raise expectations for people of their institutions, of their leaders, and of the organizations they work with.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Absolutely. That I mean, especially as everyone's like dream organization and the organization a lot of people look up to in terms of raising the bar for education in Ghana and on the continent. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
glad we could get your insights on that particular question. And I also want to pose it to Ian Elizabeth in terms of WorkCamp is an organization or a program that's grown vastly to cover a lot of the continent. And Elizabeth, you're beginning or in the beginning stages of an initiative that should is aspiring to have wide-reaching impact on the continent. So I would like to get both of your perspectives on this particular question, starting with Kofi.
Hello, Thelma, is it my question? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were speaking to Elizabeth. Okay.
Ebenezer, please mute your mic.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that Backcamp tries to do, though we have our challenges anyway, I think we came to realize that yes, we bring a lot of young people looking forward to change Ghana and Africa. However, is it how do we want them to change the continent or the country if we don't bring people who have already sort of made their marks in the country and the continent? together so they could help these youth interested in changing the continent. However, someone might ask a question that, do you think that this few minutes that these young people meet with these mentors, how much impact will it make? Of course, at some point, yes, it might not be valuable, but however, I feel this is more important. I think that now we have tested the essence of seeing that young people are interested in mentorship, which wasn't like that. I think that now we have also created the awareness that there is something more powerful that young people should be able to leverage on, which is mentorship, which wasn't really, the awareness wasn't really there. This is something that is more important to us. We are also looking forward to where we can have long-lasting relationship with our mentors, which we try as much as possible that these mentees that meet the mentors create that sort of relationship with them and build on it. Most of them don't know how to, so I think that is where we are trying to be able to build on that, if I answered the question correctly.
Okay. Yeah, you certainly gave us insights to Barcamp in particular and how it can grow and address some of its issues as an institution to have more impact than it's already had. So thank you. And Elizabeth?
All right, so I guess the question was about institutional mentoring, and GIG is basically modeled after the TEED Fellowship, which I'm a product of. I'm an alumni of the TEED Fellowship, and that's where I met my mentor. And one of their biggest most impactful programs is their mentorship program. And I'm hoping that, well, I think all of you know that GIG has won their first class of students. So the hope is that as they progress onto senior high school and university, they in turn will become mentors to younger incoming classes of GIG students. So we could create that linear path of mentors for GIG students. And for now, I really don't know how we could create that institutional mentoring aspect for our programming, but I'm hoping that by leveraging individuals, young women especially, young people in this country, we could set the platform for a very prominent program. So I also don't know if I answered the question correctly, but we're experimenting with everything that we're doing.
Okay, yeah, and I would say there's definitely, I mean, again, through your social media engagement and all the different people engaged in social entrepreneurship here, I imagine, again, bringing up peer mentorship, there's that avenue for connecting peers who are doing this work with each other as well. So, yes, we've gone over time, and I just want to give everyone an opportunity to give some sort of closing remarks. This has been really great. I think there have been a lot of great insights shared, and I love that there's been a lot of social media communication going on about this topic. Jennifer, I'll start with you because there's something in particular you wanted to share in closing, so go right ahead.
All right, thank you. I just really wanted to add to what Kofi and Elizabeth already shared in terms of institutions and providing mentoring for young people. Funny enough, I was in a story recently, and I asked most of the entrepreneurs I interviewed so what is your greatest need? Is it funding? Is it money? They all said no, that finance is usually not the greatest need of entrepreneurs, but rather they listed other things. And one of the things that really jumped out amongst the three entrepreneurs I interviewed was the need for mentorship, the need for a formal guide to be provided to them. So it's really interesting to know that there's a huge need in this area for young people. And what's also more exciting is to see how organizations are beginning to see this need, identify these needs, and create opportunities. For example, I was going to mention Faith Foundation. I know Faith Foundation in Nigeria, in Lagos here, they usually provide social entrepreneurs. They connect them with it's usually they provide this formal mentoring program for social entrepreneurs. So a lot of social entrepreneurs I know have benefited from that program, and they match a particular social entrepreneur to a more experienced entrepreneur, and then they try to like coordinate a formal relationship where these people will be able to tap in the knowledge base. Then another one recently, of which I'm really excited about, is the Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Program. I mean, it's really exciting to know that mentorship is also a huge component of what they're adding to their program. So, I hope that more institutions would really model this, would emulate what what is already working in the system and try to incorporate it into their work. Then, I mean, as a closing remark, I would just say, as young people, we should, because there's usually this I've heard among the older generation that young people these days feel that they know too much, they don't want to be mentored. I mean, I think we should take that up as a challenge and be more open to mentorship. So allow ourselves actually be mentorable, if there's a word like that, and we should try to take as much as we can. And also remember to give back to our mentors. Then also, I was going to ask Elizabeth this question. You said your mentor has been, you've had her since the age of 13. I mean, there's always this argument of, is there an age duration for mentorship? In my opinion, I mean, I would say I mean, if, like Kofi pointed out earlier on, if you meet someone whom you thought could mentor you, and then as a result of maybe things not working out, it's okay to pull back, and not feel obligated to stay on in the relationship. So I think, in my own opinion, time is very important in the whole process of mentorship. Know when to stay and know when to leave, so that your mentor doesn't become your tormentor. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
So your mentor doesn't become your tormentor. That's a great one. Okay, so Emmanuel, I don't if you got a quick word before you leave us. We'd appreciate that. I know we're 20 minutes
I see
over now.
what you did there. Thank you, Thelma. Great points, Jennifer. Actually, the thing I was going to say is I think we've now added big words to things that have been happening time immemorial. So before institutionalized education, it was through apprenticeship and mentoring that vocations were passed on. Somebody who had skill sets identified young people, and they taught it through relationship building, through skill sets transference. It's similar. I think that kind of my final words are there are different ways that we get a chance or opportunity to do that. If it's through radio like we do on the Empower Show, if it's through monthly conversations like the Global Shapers Accra Hub does with the Discourse, if it's through cultural events and normally networking events, just like a Haspera does. There's always an opportunity to transfer your skills, to transfer what you know, to build relationships with older people or people with diverse backgrounds. We are strong, or we are as progressive as we learn and network with as many people as possible. So I think a lot of people have also gotten caught up with this. I need to find a mentor, or I need to have this specific relationship, or it has to be this person. I think it can always be broken down to really being that simple. Be curious, be willing to give, and just try. And that should encapsulate mainly your relationship and finding a mentor, or a relationship and maintaining a mentor-mentee relationship, and then also in giving back to people who are coming underneath you. You would want your siblings to also get or acquire the best skill sets they can to be productive citizens. It doesn't happen by diffusion or osmosis. It happens through relationships, interactions, and mentorship. And that's how most people would want as well. So it's been such a fun, phenomenal time speaking with all these brilliant people on this panel. Thank you so much for having me. I do have to go, so thank you for giving me this opportunity to also have last words.
Okay. Sound went out just for a minute, as said, and all of that. Ebenezer, can you give us some last thoughts? Thank you again for participating.
I think this has been a really interesting discussion. I'm really glad you guys put this together. I think the key always to a lot of these things is just always starting the conversation and getting people to think about these things in a very useful, meaningful way. And I'm really grateful to Diaspora Camp for actually taking the time and the efforts to put this together. And I hope this conversation keeps going. I hope more people get to weigh in on this kind of conversation, and it can really help make a lot of difference for young people when they kind of just understand. Always, it's always good to broaden the perspective. It really helps people understand in their own unique ways how they can engage in mentorship and in development. And I'm really grateful to you guys for putting this together and for inviting me to be part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, for the kudos. We appreciate it. And thank you for participating. And then finally, Kofi.
The only sentence I would like to say is that mentees should be ready and firm to listen to mentors, regardless of how harsh, a very positive harsh, the mentors might be, and they should be able to take it and then practice what they say after they've thought through that is indeed a good thing to practice. On the other note, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure meeting such brilliant people, as Emmanuel said. It's just once in a lifetime that you meet such a group like this. And I hope that we'll still continue with this discussion. Thank you so much.
Hello? Looks like we've lost Thelma. Okay, well, it looks like we've lost Thelma, so I'm just taking it out from here. Okay. Would just put in some last few comments from others, and then comment from at Joshua Ampersand Joshua from Twitter. It says a great mentor will serve you irrespective of his public figure, fame or riches. What makes him a mentor is his attitude. And one of our fellow panelists, Eunice Peter Young, comes in again. She says you should have an identity or style with which you approach mentorship. You could adopt micromanaging like moms do. I'm not too sure about that, but that's what she said. Nathaniel Alpha, who is the lead for Junior Camp, comes in. He says that he's watching the Diaspora Camp chat now and he's enjoying the discussion. Well, sorry, Nathaniel, we are probably going to disappoint you a bit because we've come to the end of the interesting discussion. And I just want to use the opportunity to thank all of you. You've made great closing comments. We've learned so much from you. Today, we've learned that we need to be realistic when we think of success. That was a point that Nina made. We also learned that people are passionate about their content, so they want to give of themselves. I think that was from Jennifer. And we've learned so many things from all of you today, all the people who joined the chat and unfortunately had to leave at various points because of their busy schedules. We are really very grateful to them. And so thank you very much. And next time we'll be calling on you again. And thank you very much to everybody who listened online and contributed via social media. Thank you.
Thank you so much.